On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected. George Reeves, best remembered as the original television Superman, died under mysterious and tragic circumstances on June 16, 1959, at the age of 45. Found dead in his Los Angeles home from a gunshot wound to the head, the official ruling was suicide. Yet the bizarre details surrounding his death, no fingerprints on the weapon, delayed police response, and multiple people in the house at the time, sparked decades of speculation and conspiracy. Some believe he was murdered, possibly due to his entanglements with Hollywood elites. The uncertainty has only deepened the mystique surrounding his life and legacy. Reeves rose to fame in the 1950s as Superman in Adventures of Superman, a role that became both his greatest success and his greatest burden. In an era when television was becoming the dominant cultural medium, Reeves became a household name. But the fame came at a cost. Typecast as the Man of Steel, Reeves struggled to find serious acting work afterward. He longed to be respected as a dramatic actor, but Hollywood, locked in rigid studio systems and image branding, refused to let him escape the Cape. His death reflected the pressures of fame in a rapidly modernizing entertainment industry. The 1950s celebrated heroic male figures and wholesome ideals, yet behind that curtain were stories of isolation, broken dreams, and psychological struggles, issues rarely spoken of at the time. Reeves's fall from grace, from national hero to embattled actor, mirrored the limitations of a society that worshipped icons, but offered them little human compassion. The immediate aftermath of Reeves's death was public confusion and sorrow, particularly from young fans who couldn't reconcile the image of Superman with the tragedy of his demise. Over time, his death came to symbolize the darker underbelly of celebrity culture. Theories about his death have kept his name in public discourse, from books to the 2006 film Hollywoodland, which dramatized the event and reignited public interest. Reeves is immortalized not just as Superman, but as a figure emblematic of Hollywood's golden age and its hidden sorrows. His story reveals a timeless truth. Our heroes, however superhuman they appear, are often most deeply human in their suffering. In remembering George Reeves, we confront the fragile intersection of myth and man, and the enduring need to understand, preserve, and humanize those we elevate. Frank Bonner, best known for his portrayal of the flamboyantly self-absorbed sales manager Herb Tarlek on the beloved sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati, died on June 16, 2021, at the age of 79. His death was attributed to complications from Lewy body dementia, a progressive neurological disease that affects memory, thinking, and motor functions. Unlike the tragic and abrupt deaths that often shock the public, Bonner's passing was a quieter event, reflective of a man whose fame was steady but never overshadowed by scandal or sensationalism. Bonner's career thrived in the 1970s and 1980s, a period when television sitcoms offered an escape from the political and social turmoil of the times. As Herb Tarlek, Bonner embodied the excesses and comedic obliviousness of the era's corporate culture, clad in mismatched polyester suits and armed with painfully cheesy sales pitches. His character was a satire of outdated masculinity and the hollow optimism of American capitalism during a time of economic uncertainty and shifting cultural norms. The nature of Bonner's death, natural and due to a degenerative disease, resonates with the challenges faced by many aging entertainers. While he remained active in television well into the 2000s, directing and guest starring, his later years were marked by a retreat from the spotlight, emblematic of how the entertainment industry often sidelines its veterans. His illness, like those of other public figures such as Robin Williams, who also battled Lewy body dementia, helped bring awareness to a disease that is still under-recognized. The immediate consequences of Bonner's passing were tributes from fans and castmates, particularly those who remembered his warmth and humor off-screen. His death did not shift the course of history, but it did stir nostalgia for an era of television when characters like Herb Tarlek brought levity to American living rooms during uncertain times. Frank Bonner is immortalized through reruns, behind-the-scenes anecdotes, and the enduring charm of WKRP in Cincinnati. His legacy is not one of sweeping political change or revolutionary artistry, but of making people laugh, and sometimes cringe, in ways that still resonate. In remembering Bonner, we reflect on how even those not cast as heroes or historical giants leave behind echoes of joy and cultural texture. Through shared memory, celebration of work, and continued viewing, we keep alive not just characters but the lives behind them. Paxton Whitehead, a distinguished British character actor known for his mastery of comedic timing and classical stage presence, passed away on June 16, 2023, at the age of 85 from natural causes. His death marked the end of a long and richly varied career that spanned over 6 decades across stage, film, and television. Though he was never a household name in the conventional sense, Whitehead's presence was unmistakable. His crisp diction, refined demeanor, and subtle wit made him a favorite in both Shakespearean theater and American sitcoms. Whitehead's death came at a time when the theatrical arts, especially classical theater, were reckoning with declining attention amid a digital age dominated by streaming and short-form media. As a classically trained actor who brought gravitas to farce and intelligence to comedy, his career symbolized the values of a bygone era, one that revered training, textual fidelity, and craft. His passing reminded many of the importance of sustaining such traditions, even as entertainment evolves. His most well-known screen role, perhaps, was in the 1986 film Back to School, where he played the pompous business professor opposite Rodney Dangerfield's irreverent millionaire student. It was a role that epitomized the comic archetype he played so well, the dignified, slightly flustered authority figure. Yet off-screen, Whitehead was known for his humility, mentorship, and love for theater, directing and performing well into his later years. The immediate response to his death was quiet but heartfelt. Tributes poured in from the theater community, especially from those who had shared the stage with him or been taught by him. While his passing didn't send shockwaves through the public like the deaths of screen legends might, it left a noticeable void in the world of repertory theater and among connoisseurs of refined performance. Whitehead's legacy is carried not through pop culture mythology, but through the enduring respect of the theater world. He is immortalized in playbills, archived recordings, and the memories of audiences who witnessed his brilliance live. His death reminds us that power and memory aren't always loud or revolutionary. They can be cultivated in a lifetime of consistency, discipline, and quiet excellence. In remembering Paxton Whitehead, we honor not just a performer, but a standard-bearer of an art form that prizes intellect, subtlety, and tradition. Helmut Kohl, the towering figure of post-war German politics and the architect of German reunification, died on June 16, 2017, at the age of 87. His death, from natural causes following years of ill health, marked the end of an era not only for Germany, but for a Europe that he helped reshape. Kohl's passing offered a moment of deep reflection on the values of unity, democracy, and the burden of leadership in a rapidly changing world. Kohl came to prominence during the Cold War, a period defined by ideological division and the literal wall that split his homeland. As Chancellor of West Germany from 1982 to 1990, and of the reunified Germany until 1998, he steered the nation through its most pivotal moment since World War II. His unwavering commitment to reunification, despite economic and political risks, reflected a post-war generation's yearning to heal historic wounds. His role in anchoring Germany within a peaceful European framework also symbolized a broader shift from nationalism to continental cooperation. When he died, tributes poured in from global leaders who remembered him as a statesman of rare conviction. Yet his legacy was also complex. In later years, Kohl faced political isolation due to a party financing scandal, highlighting the persistent tension between personal legacy and political accountability. His death offered both closure and complication, a final chapter to a life that shaped a nation, but not without controversy. The immediate consequence of his passing was a surge in public and political remembrance. Kohl was the first person ever honored with a European Union-level memorial service, a symbolic testament to his lasting impact on continental unity. In Germany, there were debates about how to commemorate him, underscoring how even national heroes are continually reassessed through the lens of present-day values. Helmut Kohl's death reminds us how leaders become both architects and artifacts of history. In memorials, documentaries, public debates, and even political textbooks, his image endures as both a symbol and a subject of scrutiny. Through remembrance, we negotiate how to balance greatness with imperfection, and how the mortality of even the most powerful invites reflection on what endures beyond flesh and office. In Kohl's case, it is the vision of unity, fragile, hard-won, and deeply human, that remains. Tony Gwynn, one of Major League Baseball's most beloved and consistent hitters, passed away on June 16, 2014 at the age of 54 from salivary gland cancer. His death, caused by a rare form of cancer linked to the use of chewing tobacco, cast a somber light on a long-standing and culturally embedded habit within the sport. Gwynn's passing was not only a personal tragedy, but a catalyst for conversations about health, athlete responsibility, and the legacy of those who represent not just excellence in sport, but character off the field. A career-long San Diego Padre, Gwynn was renowned for his pure hitting ability, achieving a .338 lifetime batting average and earning 8 batting titles. He was a throwback figure in an era increasingly dominated by power hitting and performance-enhancing controversies. Gwynn's dedication to his craft, studying video footage long before it became standard practice, embodied a work ethic and humility that resonated with fans and fellow athletes alike. His death shocked the sports world, not just because of his relatively young age, but because it brought to the forefront the consequences of a once casual attitude toward tobacco and baseball culture. In the days and weeks following his passing, players, coaches, and even Major League Baseball itself took a harder stance against smokeless tobacco, with several teams banning it from clubhouses and stadiums. Gwynn's death thus became a point of reckoning for a sport steeped in tradition, pushing it toward a more health-conscious future. Gwynn's legend only grew after his death. Fans mourned not just a great hitter, but a man who stayed loyal to one team and who, post-retirement, dedicated himself to coaching and mentoring young players. Statues, scholarships, stadium renamings, and tributes poured in, not as acts of nostalgia, but as affirmations of the values Gwynn represented: dedication, humility, and integrity. His passing reflects a broader human truth, that mortality often reveals the full measure of a life. In death, as in life, Tony Gwynn reminded the world that greatness is not only in records or championships, but in how one plays the game, on the field and off. Through murals, Hall of Fame memorials, and the continued admiration of fans and players, his legacy remains both a lesson and a light. Vicki Brown, a celebrated British vocalist known for her rich harmonies and soulful contributions to pop and rock music, passed away on June 16, 1991, after a battle with breast cancer. Her death, though from natural causes, resonated within an era increasingly aware of both the personal cost of illness and the importance of female voices in the music industry, not only as frontwomen, but as foundational contributors behind the scenes. Brown's career was defined by versatility. From her early days with the Vernon's Girls and the Breakaways, to her work as a backing vocalist for some of the most iconic artists of the 1970s and 1980s, including Elton John, George Harrison, and Pink Floyd, she remained largely out of the spotlight, yet was instrumental in shaping the sound of an era. Her harmonies, often soaring yet subtle, became a signature element in numerous chart-topping hits. Though she had a solo career of her own and collaborated closely with her husband Joe Brown and daughter Sam Brown, her identity remained that of a powerful yet unassuming presence in a male-dominated industry. Her death at just 50 years old came at a time when public discourse around cancer, especially breast cancer, was becoming more open and urgent. The early 90s saw growing advocacy for research funding and awareness, and Brown's passing underscored the disease's indiscriminate reach, touching even those whose voices had brought so much light and energy to others. The immediate consequence of her passing was a wave of tributes from fellow musicians and fans who recognized her quiet but vital influence. While she never sought the spotlight, her absence made clear how much of the musical landscape she had helped define. Over time, Vicki Brown has been remembered not only through recordings, but through the ongoing work of her family in music, creating a legacy rooted in sound, spirit, and resilience. Her death, like many of those who support from behind the curtain, reminds us how memory and fame can diverge, and how we often come to appreciate contributions only when they fall silent. In remembering Brown, we reflect on how music immortalizes its makers, especially those whose harmony shaped not only songs, but sentiments. Through re-releases, vocal analyses, and familial tributes, her voice continues to echo, reminding us of the quiet power behind every great chorus. Eileen Way, a distinguished British actress known for her work on stage, television, and film, died of natural causes on June 16, 1994, at the age of 82. Her passing marked the quiet conclusion of a life dedicated to the craft of acting, a career that, while never commanding headline stardom, left a lasting impression on audiences who cherished the understated strength of character actors. Best remembered for her appearances in early British television, including the groundbreaking Doctor Who, Way played roles that reflected a transitional time in British entertainment. As post-war Britain evolved and television emerged as a dominant medium, she represented a generation of performers who bridged classical stage training and the emerging power of broadcast storytelling. Her portrayals often carried a dignity and gravitas that echoed the values of resilience, tradition, and adaptability, core to Britain's cultural identity in the 20th century. Her death came at a time when British television was undergoing yet another transformation, increasingly moving toward faster-paced, commercialized storytelling. The passing of actors like Way symbolized the fading of a more measured, theatrical era, one that valued performance over celebrity. Though her death did not generate the global headlines of a major star, it rippled through theatrical and science fiction communities, particularly among Doctor Who fans, who had come to revere the early pioneers of the show. The immediate consequence of her passing was a renewed appreciation for her contributions. Tributes from actors and writers recalled not only her talent, but her professionalism and presence, qualities that often go unrecognized in a celebrity-obsessed culture. Her legacy endures in reruns, film archives, and fan conventions where her roles are still celebrated. Eileen Wei's death, while quiet and natural, reflects the broader theme of how society regards those who contribute meaningfully behind the scenes. It reminds us that mortality does not discriminate between the famous and the foundational. Her memory is preserved not in marble statues or grand biographies, but in the enduring warmth of character and performance, testaments to a life spent enriching stories that were never solely her own. We immortalize such figures through the roles they played and the audiences they touched. Their legacy, like Wei's, is a reminder that memory and meaning often live on in the subtle spaces between the lines. John Snow, the pioneering English physician and father of modern epidemiology, died of a stroke on June 16, 1858, at the age of 45. His death, though natural, came at a time when his revolutionary ideas about disease transmission were still met with skepticism by many in the medical establishment. Snow's passing marked the premature end of a life committed to science, reason, and public health reform, just as the world was beginning to recognize the magnitude of his contributions. Living in the midst of Victorian London, a city plagued by overcrowding, poor sanitation, and deadly epidemics, Snow challenged the prevailing miasma theory, which held that diseases like cholera were spread through foul-smelling air. During the 1854 Broad Street cholera outbreak, he famously traced the source of the illness to a contaminated water pump, using a combination of data mapping and interviews with local residents. By removing the pump handle, he not only halted the outbreak, but laid the foundation for public health surveillance and evidence-based medicine. Yet, Snow's groundbreaking work was only partially accepted in his lifetime. The medical elite remained largely entrenched in older theories, and his ideas did not immediately reshape policy. His death therefore represents the frustrating paradox of scientific progress in the 19th century, a time when innovation surged ahead, often in defiance of institutional inertia. The consequences of Snow's death were subtle but profound. Over time, as germ theory gained acceptance and sanitation infrastructure improved, his findings became central to modern epidemiology and urban planning. Posthumous recognition elevated Snow to near legendary status, transforming him from a dissenting physician into a global symbol of rationalism, persistence, and the power of data in saving lives. John Snow's legacy is immortalized in medical schools, textbooks, and even in London's Soho district, where a replica of the Broad Street pump stands as a monument to his insight. His life and death remind us of humanity's enduring quest to understand and overcome the invisible forces that threaten health. They reflect a deep-seated truth that power lies not only in institutions or fame, but in the clarity of thought, courage to question, and the determination to follow evidence, no matter how unpopular. Through such figures, memory becomes both a celebration of past triumphs and a guide for future vigilance.